Hi, everybody. Welcome to Unfiltered Live. This is the show where I answer all your questions when it comes to anything business, marketing, growth, inner growth, outer growth, strategy, team building, operations, all of the things that goes into running and building and growing a successful business, which I know that you want to do. All of you guys want to build a successful business. Maybe you already have a successful business. You want it to be even more successful, and not just successful, right? But you want your business and your life to be simple. You want things to be simple so that you have time and energy to dedicate to your customers and to your family and to your loved ones and to yourself. It pertains to your own inner life. And one of the things I found over and over and over again is that those inner shifts, that inner growth, those inner realizations that's really what moves the needle. It's very easy to get focused on, like, how do I write a headline, or how do I write the copy, or how do I put together a funnel, or how do I put together a great lead magnet, which we're absolutely going to talk about today. We're going to talk about how to create a killer lead magnet and how to make that super simple. But we so easily get lost in all of that outer stuff instead of focusing on what is that inner shift that I need to make in order to make the outer easier. And I'll tell you something that happened to me this weekend. So I was on a call with someone, a new business coach, kind of business branding coach that I've hired for myself, for my business. And it was our very first call. It wasn't actually a coaching call. It was just my first conversation with him about hiring him. And so he tells me a bit about his story and what he does, and then I tell my story and what I do. And then he stops me and he's like, all right, you've been talking for 6 minutes now, and I still have no clue who you help or what you do for them. And I'm like, and he's like, that's a problem. I'm like, yeah, you're damn right, that's a problem. And I noticed, like, I wasn't really, in that moment, I wasn't trying to tell him the answer to that, but in him reflecting that back to me, I'm like, yeah, of course, that is what he needs to hear. And I noticed that the pattern I was playing was one of like telling sort of the story in a lot of detail, hoping that he would kind of pick up on something in that story and reflect back to me what it is that I'm about, or something like that. Like, that he would see me in that way. And it's interesting because that is, like, I instantly recognized how, oh my God, this is a pattern that I've played out in many other contexts. And that is like just an old childhood thing of, like, really wanting to be seen by my parents, especially my father. And then I'm like, oh, right, like, if I play that out where it's like, subconsciously I want other people to see me instead of me seeing me and me deciding this is who I'm for, this is the problem I solve, and this is how I do it, and just making that super clear and super simple for people so a 7-year-old can understand. And then, like, if I don't do that job, nobody's ever gonna, like, no, like, a few people are gonna notice and care, but most people are not, right? They're like, I don't understand what this is, like, why should I give a crap? I'm out of here. And so so that made me realize, holy shit, that's what I'm doing. And it's that inner shift, right? Once you recognize that, you can be like, I don't need to keep playing that pattern. I can break that pattern, right? Either your patterns break you, or you break your patterns. There's only those two options. And so that's why I'm so excited and passionate about those inner shifts, because that's where the real growth lies. And I see people do it over and over and over again, where they're like, oh, but this thing is difficult or complicated, or I can't, or this or that. And they're like making it way more difficult and complicated in their own heads, because there's something inside of them, some belief or some old pattern that they're holding on to, or some feeling that they're trying to escape, that keeps them away from actually breaking through. It's not about that outer thing. It's never about that outer thing. It's always about an inner perspective change, an inner belief change, an inner emotional change. And when you make that change, the outer thing just becomes super easy. Like the answers are right there once you see it. And so for me, I realized that I've never actually sat down and fully decided, like, and crafted, like, who is it that I help? What is it I help them with? And we're talking here my personal brand, but even actually Simplero, we've actually never really clarified that. Who do we help? What is the exact problem that we solve for them? How do we solve that? And why should they give a fuck? And that is a job that we all need to do, because if you don't do that job, you're never going to cut through the noise. You're never going to break through. And I think that's it's one of those very, very foundational things that most people overlook. And I think people overlook, we all hear it, right? But I think people overlook not how hard it is, but how much effort it actually takes to really distill it down to its essence. Like if you take that formula, I help X with problem by, and then your method. If you take that simple formula, like make 100 different tries at it, like 100 different variations, and keep iterating and iterating and iterating until you're like, yes, that's it, right? Where it's so clear and so simple and it hits you in the gut and you're like, this is who I am, this is who I'm for, this is what I do. So that's my lesson on that. And again, this is why having those inner shifts is so critical. So think about, like, what is that for you? What inner shift, what are you struggling with right now that you're making about the thing that's not about the thing, that's really about something in you? And what is that shift that you need to make? And maybe you don't know what that shift is, but you can feel that there's even like a tension in your body. There's somewhere there that you're holding. There's something that you're resisting. There's something that you're not willing to quite acknowledge, or there's a place where you're kind of like playing a little bit small or holding a little bit. Like, just pay attention to that and start getting curious about that. And if you're brave and courageous, I encourage you to come on and just type in the chat, and we can bring you on, and then we can talk about it, and we can see if we can suss out what that thing is, because that's where the real breakthrough is going to be. I'm going to talk about lead magnets today. I'm going to break it down for you, and I'm going to make it super simple, and that's going to be helpful because there's so much out there. There's so much noise, and everybody likes to make it super complicated, when in reality, everything about business is really super simple when it comes right down to it. And I'm going to do that for you on lead magnets, but just keep in mind that your challenges with a lead magnet is not really about the lead magnet. All right, so with that, let me see. In the chat, I want to hear from you guys. First, what did you take away from what I started with on today's call? What was the one thing that resonated with you? Share that in the chat, please. And I'm gonna have a sip of tea while I wait for your chat. Are we okay? All right. Internal shift moves the needle. Yeah. I think I have a good lead magnet, but I can't afford advertising, so not many people know about it. All right. There's a good belief that we can talk about. That's a good one. Thanks, Agneta. We should talk. Either you break your patterns break you. Yes, that's so true. Business is simple and we make it complicated. Don't we? Don't we, right? We all, not just business, but we make life so complicated. It's really powerful. The internal shift is as or even more important than the outer. Oh yeah. It's 100 times more important than the outer every single time, because once you make that inner shift, the outer just happens effortlessly and we don't need to worry about it or work hard at it. That's where it's at. It's really where it's at. And it's funny because, like, you see people people sort of that are more in the beginning stages of building a business, they oftentimes you'll see them poo-pooing that inner set stuff, the mindset stuff, the patterns, the even traumas, the beliefs, the emotional wounding, all the unconscious stuff that happens. And they tend to kind of minimize that or poo-poo it or be like, yeah, like, I don't know, or it's just like, that's not important. Just tell me the thing. And I get it. But then you see the people at the high end, the top performers, the top athletes, the top business people, like they all know how important this stuff is. Like this is really where it's won or lost. And so it's funny that you kind of see that the people who need it the most reject it the most. And that's probably why they still need it the most, right? And at the other end of the spectrum, those people tend to really recognize the importance, the value of it. All right, so let's shift to talking about your lead magnet. So now I want to hear in the chat, what is your biggest struggle when it comes to a lead magnet? What is difficult when it comes to lead magnets? I want to hear from everybody in the chat, every single one of you. I want to hear, what is your struggle when it comes to lead magnets? Or what are you winning at when it comes to lead magnets? One of the two. Let me see. And I encourage you guys to raise your hand early. If you have a question for me, just use the reactions tab at the bottom to raise your hand, and we can see, and then we can get you in the queue for a question. All right, let's see here. We got to make lead magnets that look enticing, welcome, and more importantly, modern. All right, that's a good one. I tend to set and forget it rather than refining and developing and improving, which would make a world of difference. All right, cool. All right, thank you for that. So so when it comes to lead magnets, there are really three things that you need to think about. Number one is, and I'm gonna and I say this because again, there's so many people saying so many things and making it super complicated, and I just want to bring it all the way down and make it so simple for you that you get it and that you actually execute on it, because the lead magnet that you execute on, the strategies that you execute on, are the ones that actually have value. So the three things that you want to keep in mind when it comes to lead magnets is, number one, what's the pain that you're addressing? What's the pain, the problem that your lead magnet is the answer to? You want to get that one right. Number two is, how do you deliver it? You want to keep that super simple. And number three is, what's the next step? It's very important that your lead magnet has a next step, because otherwise it's just an ebook. But the purpose of a lead magnet is to drive people to take the next action, to become customers, to do business with you. So that's very important. So let's talk about those. So the pain that your lead magnet addresses needs to be a frustration or pain or a need that your ideal customer avatar has. And here's the twist. You want it to be a frustration or a pain or need that only your ideal avatar has. So, for example, our ideal avatar are people who already have some sort of course, content, coaching, information, service-based business, and they're realizing that they kind of know what they're doing, but they're realizing that they're having all these different platforms and tools that they need to navigate, courses over here and CRM there and this other tool there and then community here and whatever. Like, that's a nightmare. And it's frustrating to have all that stuff. That's the frustration that we're addressing. And that's the frustration that only our ideal client has. If we were like the frustration being like, I have to come up with a title for my course, right? That's a completely different avatar. That's like the avatar that's just getting started with courses. And those people are not gonna be as good an avatar for us as someone who's more experienced. And so that's why we don't want to do the lead magnet of like, hey, how do I price my course, or how do I come up with a title for my course? Because that would attract the wrong avatar. So if you create a lead magnet that might be very, very successful and get you a ton of leads, but if they're not, like they might be sort of in the right ballpark, but they're at the wrong step of their journey to be a match for what you offer, then it's not a good lead magnet. So the pain needs to be one that your ideal avatar has, that only your ideal avatar has. So it's pinpointed to that exact avatar, that exact person. So that's number one. Does that make sense? I hope so. So number two is, how do we deliver the lead magnet? How do we deliver the answer to that frustration, that pain? And the answer to that is, there's an acronym that is used in common. I didn't come up with it, but it is SAGE, S-A-G-E. And it stands for short, actionable, goal-oriented, and easy to consume. So your lead magnet should be all of those. If you have an ebook, if you've written a book that's like 250 pages long, and it's a phenomenal book, it's just a really, really amazing book, so much value in it, is that going to make a good lead magnet? If you give that away as a lead magnet for free as an ebook? No, it's going to be a terrible lead magnet, in fact. There might be a ton of value in it, but nobody's going to read it. Nobody's going to read it. They're going to just look at it, and it's going to feel like work, and then just going to walk away and forget about you. Right? So that's not a good lead magnet. You want it to be short, because people's attention spans are super short, like TikTok generation, folks, right? Like, we live in a TikTok world. People have very short attention spans, 7 seconds, and they're gone. It needs to be short. It needs to be actionable. So there's something that they can do that moves them further down that journey to become clients of yours. So what is the logical thing that they need to do, that they need to learn before they are ready to become clients of yours? And then it needs to be goal-oriented, so there's a specific outcome that it delivers, and it has to be easy for them to consume. So just super easy to read and take action on. SAGE, short, actionable, goal-oriented, and easy. And then it's very, very important that, and then in terms of how you deliver it, I saw one of the things in the chat was about making it look modern and design and all that stuff. And that stuff's good, but you know what? I've seen more and more lead magnets lately that's just a link to a Google Doc. And there's actually several advantages to that. So you just you're writing it up at your lead magnet in a Google Doc. And then instead of we were about to do that this week. We were about to we have a lead magnet ready that's written up in a Google Doc. And I was there on Fiverr trying to find a designer that could turn that into a beautiful PDF lead magnet. And then I realized, why the hell would we even bother doing that? Because the giving access in a Google Doc gives just as much value to people. It is way easier for us to then make changes after the fact. We just go edit it. We don't need to outsource it out to a guy, a designer, to make that change in the PDF again. And there's actually an added benefit, which is that when you send emails that have links to Google Docs in them, those emails are more likely to land in people's priority inbox in Gmail, because Google will favor links to their own properties. So that's an email marketing hack there for you guys, is link directly to Google Drive, Google Docs, Google Sheets, YouTube, and other Google properties, and your emails are more likely to actually hit the priority inbox, which means that they're more likely to get read. So I highly recommend that you just deliver it, if it's written, just deliver it in Google Drive, in a Google Doc. You can also deliver it as a webinar, live webinar with people. We were talking to someone today in the community who was George Cow, as you guys might know from the community, and he was telling that he likes to do a free to attend paid replay webinar. So it's hey, you can attend live and it's free, and if you want the replay, it'll be $20 or $50 or whatever you want. And so that gives fewer opt-ins, but it gives higher quality opt-ins, and those that are there actually want to be there, and they're actually attending because they're cheapskates and they want to save $20, right? So there's lots of ways that you can deliver your lead magnet, it's just think about like make it easy and simple for you, right? Don't overthink it. So just if it's easy for you to write, write. If it's easy for you to speak, speak. If it's easy for you to like record a video, record a video. If it's easy for you and fun for you to do a live webinar with people attending, do a live webinar. The problem with a live webinar, obviously, is now there's a specific time and date that they have to register and then show it. And then if you want to keep doing it, you have to keep doing the webinar, which I wouldn't do personally, but I can see the point. But we could use the show as a lead magnet, get people to the show and actually ask a question. That could be a possible lead magnet. Register, join the show. We haven't done that, or I don't know if we will, but that would be a way to do that since we're doing this anyway every week, right? Yeah. The other thing I want to say about the pain and figuring out what the pain is that you want to address is, again, make it simple. Just look at what the other people in the field, in the market are doing, and that are in the same space that you are. And if they have a lead magnet that with a certain title that addresses a certain pain, and it fits with your business and your avatar and where you're at on people's customer journey, just steal that title and like write your own lead magnet that delivers on that title, right? Like you don't have to reinvent the wheel here. If someone else that you know is doing well has a lead magnet that's either they're running traffic to, and you can see in Facebook ads library that they're running traffic to this and it's been running for a while, right? If you go to Facebook ads library and you see the ad there and you see that it's not recent, that it's still active and they started running it back in March, well, chances are it's probably profitable for them. And so what is that linking out to? What's that lead magnet right there? What's the title? Then boom, that's one that you can just steal the title and use for yourself. There's no copyright on titles. You're free to do that, and that's totally okay. Or if you go to their website and there's a lead magnet that's prominently displayed there on their website, you can be pretty sure that that lead magnet is performing, and so you can just steal that title. So just make it super easy for yourself to come up with this stuff. You don't have to reinvent the wheel on this. And then the final thing is on the next steps. Your lead magnet has to sell people on what they need to do next. How do they move forward on the journey? The difference between branding content and marketing content in this sense of like direct response marketing is that there's always a next step. We're guiding people along a journey. So they watch the ad. What's the next step? The step is that they click there to get to the opt-in page. What's the next step? They put in their information to get to the lead magnet. What's the next step? They get the lead magnet, they read it or skim it. Usually most people are just going to skim it. And then on the last page is what do you want them to do next? Is it book a call? Is it buy a product from you? Is it, I don't know what else it would be. Sign up for a trial in our case, right? But usually one of those things, either get on a call or buy something like cheap or expensive or whatever product you have, right? And then if they don't do that, you keep emailing them with that offer again, and addressing different angles or different objections, et cetera, to get them to take that next step. And basically, until they take that next step, every single touch point is about getting them to take that next step. And that's how it works. And it's so important that your lead magnet has that. And so basically, a super simple format for a lead magnet is what is the problem that you're facing? Like you write a title, right? A classic title is like how to get X without Y, right? How to get something that you want without something that you don't want is a classic one. You can use that like that. You can steal a title from someone else. And then you write basically 3 to 5 steps and make it super simple, like a paragraph or 2 per step to deliver on that. That's your body of your lead magnet. That's the meat of it. And then the first page is one where you introduce yourself and establish your credentials and why you have authority and credibility, why people should trust you and buy from you. And the last page is, here's what I want you to do next. And basically the footer on every single page is also a link to that thing that you want them to do next, so that even if they never make it to the last page, you Note to self, Bryson, let's make sure that we have the footer on ours. Um, is like that even if they don't read the whole thing, they still get that next step, because that's really the whole point of the lead magnet. So that's it, guys. Just making it super simple. What's the pain you're addressing? How do you deliver on the promise, and how do you deliver the lead magnet? And then finally, what is the next step that you want them to take, and make sure that you make that super duper clear to people. So with that, we are open for you guys' questions. Let's talk lead magnets. And we can start with whatever was in the chat if we don't have any raised hands, but go to the reactions tab, click the raise hand thing, and fire away with all your questions, guys. What do we have in the chat, Beth?
Aaron had a couple of questions about his lead magnet, how to get inline lead magnets to convert.
Yeah.
Pop-ups are working, but inlines are not.
I think that would be, I mean, inlines do generally work. I mean, if you have I don't know if it's what we call a squeeze page, where a page where all they can do is enter their information. If the traffic source sets them up to really want the thing, then that really helps. And then if the page with the opt-in form really sells them on the lead magnet as well, that's going to convert 100%. So then it's just a matter of figuring out what are you doing wrong? Are you not is something broken? Is that page not selling the lead magnet? Is the pain that you're addressing not a pain that's acute for people? Are you sending the wrong traffic to it? Are you making the wrong promise in the ads, or what is your traffic source for it? Those are all things that you need to look at. I'll tell you for us, so we're writing our lead magnet. We're making one now, and what we're going to do is we're going to share it first in the Facebook group and get feedback on it there, and then based on the feedback, we're going to make adjustments. Then we're going to send it to our trusted advisors and get their feedback on it and get them to send it to their audience and see how it performs there. And then we're going to send it to our broader affiliate partners and do the same. Get it out to them, and then when we know that it's resonating and is working, and we've kind of battle tested in that way, then we're gonna plug it into the ads as well at first. But we're gonna get more. We're gonna get faster and really good feedback by just sharing it with the audience that we have. We're also gonna email it to our list because it's a great value add. So it's a great thing to get out there. And that's how we can test it. So you really need to make sure that it's something that they really want. That's where it starts. Other than that, we'd have to look at your actual page and setup. And there's something, what was it? Agneta had something about, I have a great lead magnet, but I don't have any money, so I can't run any ads, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, and Matilda asked, I'm afraid of giving my audience too much of my knowledge so they don't buy what I offer.
Right. Yeah, that's a good one. So afraid of giving too much away for fear that they won't buy what I offer. A lot of people have that. I get it. Here's the thing. There are people who have more time than money, and there are other people who have more money than time. And those people who have more money than time, they're your friends, right? Because they have money to pay you, and they will gladly pay you to save them some time, to accelerate their journey to their goal. And so a way to think about it is that you give away all of the secrets. You give away all of the secrets, all of the details, but what you're selling is the implementation. What you're selling is what I've told you today is that's what you need to know at a high level. But then when we get into your specific avatar, your specific situation, how to write it, all the details, there's going to be lots of questions there. There's going to be lots of details to figure out. And so that's the kind of stuff that you can help people with for money, right? Just because it takes more time, it takes more effort, right? You can only, if you have a lead magnet, and like I said, if you're giving people 3 to 5 steps and you're literally writing 1 or 2 paragraphs on each, you can only go so deep. And so you can get into more detail in your paid programs. Generally, don't worry about giving away too much. The only thing it's going to do is make people like and trust you and know that you can deliver on your promises. And so when they really need you, or those people that really need you, they're going to come to you. And generally what you want to give away is the thing, like you solve one problem and then it gives you a new problem, right? Like you teach people how to dress or how to look better. Now they're going to need like all the details of like where to go shopping and what to buy or that kind of stuff, right? Or you sell people you give people a lead magnet about how to get dates, but now that creates a new problem of like, what do I do on the date? How do I behave there, right? So you do something that solves one problem, but then creates another problem that then is your paid program to solve. So that's how you do that. What do we have? I have a great lead magnet. I have no money to advertise. Advertising is only one of a million different ways that you can get traffic, right? So the best way, like start offering it for free on social media if you have any following. Start offering it for free to your friends. If you like go out, the best way to start is go out and find other people, just build relationships with other people in the industry, who has the same audience that you have. It's okay if their email list is just like 300 people. If yours is 0, that's a step up. It's a way of moving forward. And then you find another one whose email list is maybe 1,000, and you talk to them and they mail it out. And if your thing has genuine value and you're coming from a place of genuinely wanting to serve, and you have a really good offer on the back end to back it up, and you're just being a good person, people are going to want to do business with you. People are going to want to partner with you. They're going to want to be like, yeah, I'll totally send your lead magnet to my list and use my affiliate link, and then we'll sell your product on the back end, and maybe we'll do a joint webinar and like yada yada, and then you get it out there. And then like that's affiliate partners is just such a so much better way to get started, because you're paying your friends, your peers who are in the same business at the same level, instead of paying Mark Zuckerberg or whoever is the shareholders of Google at this point, or it's much more fun and rewarding to pay those people. So don't worry about not having money for ads. It's only one of many, many ways that you can get clients. What else do we have? It's cool. Let's do it.
Yeah, say more.
Well, yeah, I created an online course. I'm a leadership trainer and group developer and coach. And I created an online course during COVID because I realized that I need to, I talked about it for forever with my business partner, but we never did anything. So a year ago, I finished my online course with Simplero. And then when I thought that now it's time to market it and really advertise so it gets out there, my husband lost his job, and I just couldn't finance that. And others. It's also, I believe that the technical stuff around advertising and around Simplero is sometimes overwhelming for a small business person like myself. So it was a couple of things really that made me question the course, the lead magnet, which is a checklist, and I have sent it to some customers for free just for them to try it out, but some of them has logged in, but none of them has finished the course.
Right.
So I'm questioning, is it the right content? Is it the right audience? I'm confused here.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is it. And this is why I'm so glad that you're sharing this. This is why we always recommend don't create the course first, sell it first, then create it, right? Because like now you have a course and you're like, maybe it's not even the right thing. Maybe nobody gives a hoot about the thing that I've created, right? But here's the thing. Nobody actually buys your course because they haven't seen your course by the time they buy it. They haven't been through it, right? So the only thing they can buy is your advertising, your marketing, your copy, your what you say about it.
Yeah.
And so we can change that. So what I would do is you need to figure out, like, you need to start by going inside and just being completely honest with yourself. Hey, Yasmin, she's in false pregnancy, so she gets really hyper. She does that a couple times a year. She goes like, "Whoa." Anyway, so I'd start go internal and be like, who is the person that I most want to help, and what is the problem I want to solve for them?
Well,
And what is that, like, that pain for them has to be strong and acute so that they want to take action on it. We all know this, right? If you have like, yeah, there's like something with my teeth, I'll get it fixed one day. Then that day you wake up and it's just like, oh, like burning pain and you can barely think and breathe, then you're going to the dentist, right? That's how we all are. So what is that pain? Who is it? Who is your audience? Let me hear it for you. Like, who's your audience? What's the problem you solve?
my avatar is managers of in companies where they spend a lot of time in meetings.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I know exactly what their pain is with because there are many complaints about having to go to too many meetings and that are too poorly managed.
Mm-hmm.
And
what is your solution? Is it managing the meetings better, or what do you do for them?
yeah, both. Yes, my course is called Brain Friendly Meetings because I have a lot of knowledge about the brain and what's working and what's not working.
Right.
Comes to before meetings, during meetings, and after meetings. What should they think about? What should they twerk and do less of, do more of, to have fewer meetings and better meetings.
Got it. Okay.
So I know
So what I would do is I would go out and find out like who's already selling to that market, solving that problem, and how are they approaching it. Right. I know that there's a book called Meetings Suck or something like Cameron Harold, or I forget, but like go on Amazon and look at what books are there on that topic. And what are their titles, and how are they positioning it, how are they presenting it, and that will be inspiration. You can either just like copy and do the same, or you can then go the opposite direction and find out where there's a gap in the market. But you gotta like, have you spoken? Like, I would speak to those people and some people that you know that have that problem, and really dig into and understand like what is the pain? What would make it a now thing for them to address that? Is it themselves that they're like, oh yeah, meetings are boring, and like a lot of people just like complaining about stuff, right? So in some ways it's an outlet, like, yeah, we can bitch about like having this stupid meeting culture. But if you're a manager of a team and you're like, this is really hurting the performance of your team, and you're doing active harm to your team by having these meetings, and it's not your fault because you just didn't know how to have brain-friendly meetings, but I'll help you do that. And then you want to think about what are the benefits to people in functional terms. You're going to learn specific things. In economic terms, how is it going to save them time or money, or make them money, or their team is going to be more productive, etc. And emotionally, what is the emotional benefit of doing this for them? You want to be super clear on that, because that's what you need to speak to, but you need to understand from their perspective, what is the pain that they're feeling? What are the words that they're using about it? And drill in on that. And until that's clear, it's really hard to get through.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I tried to talk about it with some of my customers that I've been working with for quite some time, but sometimes sometimes I think that I'm. It's not that I'm not wasting their time, but it's a little difficult for me to get them to prioritize these conversations with me, because they have full calendars.
Right. Well, that's exactly the problem, right?
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, do you have people that you're like have close enough relationships to that you can that they would do it as a favor? Then I would start there. If not, you have to make it worth their time, right?
Yeah.
Like
I choose 5 of them because I talked to them, and I said, and they were also willing. Oh, this sounds great. I'm willing to try it out because I wanted them to try it.
Right.
But maybe that was the wrong way of doing it because it's
Yeah.
a
Yeah,
mod.
yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
they don't prioritize that because maybe
And
it's not.
exactly that, because like these people are so busy because they have so many meetings, and
Yeah.
so they are, yeah. Hey, girl, they have so many meetings that going through a course might feel like work for them, right? Maybe a course is not the right answer for them, just because it's gonna feel like burden, work, something. Maybe there's another approach. Hey, girl. Hey, hey, baby.
Yeah, yeah, well, it
That
might be because I also offer, on-site development processes and courses,
right.
and so on, of course. But I, I, I really wanted to do this to have a second income.
Well, maybe there's a like you give away basically the gist of it in a shorter format on in like YouTube videos, and just teach it that way and give that away for free and really get people to consume that, or like not necessarily YouTube, but just make it really short and actionable for them. So that becomes more of a lead magnet kind of thing. And then what you sell is the implementation, right? The higher level consulting. Now you're a high level executive manager, whatever, like you've got the principles, but now you're like, well, but exactly, and how do I do this meeting, this team, and over here, and like, all the things that come up, and then you can sell that at a high ticket, but you can still do it remotely over Zoom, and then once you've done that, maybe you'll learn more. Like that's an approach. So anyway, I hope this was helpful. I appreciate you coming on.
Yes, it is helpful. And I also noticed that it's a very big cultural difference between maybe the US and Sweden, where I'm doing business, about selling oneself in social media, so to speak. Uh,
Right.
yeah. Um, so I think that might be an obstacle as well.
Yeah, and I think some of it is just like, you know, um, some of it is. I remember when I got started. I'm from Denmark, right? So I got started with this stuff in this type of marketing in 2008, and I got so much pushback from people that like it was like way too American and way too hardcore and yada yada, and people are complaining, but people bought, right? So like some people bitch about it because that's just their nature, and you just ignore those people, and then you serve the people who care and who want to buy it. So that's something to consider as well. Just like, sure, put yourself out there in the way that works with the people who care. You only need to worry about your customers and the people who are interested in paying you money to solve the problem. So those are really the only people that matter to you at a business level.
Yeah, and me.
Yeah.
I can't do anything that's too far from my values. That's impossible.
No, but I
I
mean,
should-
and that's something that we don't have time now, but like that's something that we would be really interesting to dig into. Like, what are those quote unquote values? Because a lot of times values are just limiting beliefs. Like values are real and good, but sometimes what we call values are just limiting beliefs, and it's just another word for fear. So that would be worth considering and digging into as well,
Yeah.
which we're not going to do today, but some
I'm
other
very
time.
sure about my values, and
All right.
I'm working very much with the values-based processes. So I'm sure of what I truly want and need to have life work for me.
Got it. All right.
Yeah.
I don't know what values you're referring to, so I'm just speculating here. So yeah.
And
But I just know a
they're
lot of people
personal
who,
for everyone. So yeah.
yeah. I just know there's a lot of people who are very like scared
Yeah, I know.
just being visible, and being clear. So
Yeah,
yeah.
sure.
All right.
Thank you very much.
All good.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you. All right. What we got, Beth?
George's question about should we have qualifying questions in our lead magnet? And
All
then he
right.
describes who his ideal client is.
Is he?
So
Shoot.
Calvin, can you hear me?
Yes.
It's George.
Who's this?
That's George.
It's George. What's up, George?
So I was wondering about qualifying questions,
Uh-huh.
whether or not that is a problem or not. So
You,
I'm looking
qu-
for a private business owner that has sales of 1 to 10 million in revenue, annual revenue,
right.
has been in business for owned their business for 5 years or longer, and
Mm-hmm.
has 5 or more employees. So
Right.
I have a one page that I was thinking about using as a flyer of 8 items that private investors look at um, when they consider buying your company.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I was wondering, I would prefer not to just give it out to everybody. I'd prefer to
Right.
qualify to get private business owners to
Yeah.
respond.
I mean, you can totally do that, right? So you can qualify before, right? Qualifying people is always a good idea. Um, so as long as you keep it simple for people, like you don't want to, you can qualify on the opt-in or even in the ad, right? If you're running ads, you can say like this is only for like owners who, and then you list the qualifications. If you're not, like, don't even bother, right? So you can qualify there, 100%. That's worth
Right.
doing. Um, you can qualify on the opt-in page as long as you don't have a bunch of like you have one drop down or something like that on your opt-in page. Don't do more because then that becomes a turnoff in itself. But you can absolutely do that, and then in that case, if you're doing it on the opt-in, you would now start segmenting on it, right? So then there are the people who are in your category, and those people you can then offer the lead magnet to and upsell. You can also offer the lead magnet to the others, but then you just don't make the offer. Then you just put them in on another list of like those people might hit your criteria next year, and there's no harm in having them in the audience possibly. That's a strategy, right? But those that do qualify, now you talk to them about your offer. You can also do it in the lead magnet where you just say, hey, this is really only for those people. If you're not, like, don't bother reading this thing. Definitely don't bother taking the next action because that's not going to be relevant for you. So yeah, 100% you can qualify in many different ways, whatever makes the most sense.
So would you put those in as questions on the lead magnet, and then it would be able to start automations depending on how they answer the questions?
Yeah, I mean, not in the lead magnet. I would put them in the opt-in before the lead magnet.
Right.
Yeah, and then you just send people
That's what I
into
meant.
to
The
two
landing
different places.
page when they.
Yeah,
Okay.
totally. You can absolutely. Yeah,
All right.
that works.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Perfect. Great. Yeah, and we plan on doing something like that as well for ours. We're probably going to do some qualifying questions or segmenting questions after the lead magnets because we want like everybody who comes in, we want to get them in, but then we want to segment into different buckets based on sort of if you're a beginner, like less than 5K a month kind of level, that's one group, and if you're over 100K a month, that's definitely a very different group of people, right? So we want to speak to those people differently, put different offers in front of them. As well as maybe you're a beginner in terms of revenue, but you have a massive social media following already. That's another group that is kind of separate. So we definitely plan on segmenting people in that kind of way. Yeah. Sweet. Thank you guys. I don't know that we have time for more actually. Went a little long. So let me hear in the chat, what was the main takeaway from you guys? For you guys from today. All right, John is writing copy for y'all. The 3 secrets to selling your business for 5 to 10 million. That's great. Yeah. That is so good. Thanks, John. Yeah, in the chat, main takeaways from the conversation today, either stuff at the beginning or lead magnet stuff. I'm curious what you got out of the conversation today. Agneta says, I'm not alone. That is good. We are not. We are in this together, and we're here to support each other. And guys, so at the end of the day, the bottom line is whatever you do, just keep making it simpler. Keep making things simpler. It's so easy to complicate stuff. We always complicate stuff. It's something that I've recognized about my own process recently. I've gotten more awareness around it, in large part thanks to John here on the call, who's been helping everybody write their copy for them, which is amazing. Thank you, John. Of like that process that I go through, where I like voraciously consume all kinds of information about all kinds of things, right? Like I'm passionate about programming and technology and marketing and business and entrepreneurship and leadership and, you know, culture and food and health and politics, like all of these things that I'm passionate about. I love learning about all of them, and then I like chunk it down and chunk it down and chunk it down and chunk it down and simplify and clarify and like what's the essence. Like whenever I read, like some years ago, I got really fascinated with cocktails and mixology and all that. And so I went out and I bought 10 different books on the topic and just plowed through them. And then I see, all right, what do they all agree on that are the same through all of them? And what do they differ on? What are the nuances? And then like, that's just my process. So, and that's what I try to do for you guys, is to go out and collect all this information and then distill it down and simplify it for you guys, whether in software or in learnings and strategies and in teaching. So with that, let's see here. Love Sage, easy to consume. Fantastic, guys. All right. Love it. Thank you guys so much for being here, and I will see you guys next week. I will be at a mastermind group called Boardroom next week, so I'll have to sneak out and kind of do it from my laptop on Zoom. We won't have the setup and all that stuff, but I should be there. I will be there next week as well. Every Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern. You know where to find us. Thanks for joining, guys, and we'll see you next week.